everybody, my name is Hope and welcome back to my channel. I like musicals, they're a part of my life. Today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know and prepare for the dance portion of your drama school auditions. Now I'm going to put it out there, trying something new with the camera, so I cannot see myself, nor do I know if I'm in frame. So I'm really hoping the best, but I may not be in frame or centered for this entire video, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. So it's safe to say I have done my fair share of drama school auditions, and by that I mean I've done far too many drama school auditions. But now I'm a second year, which is kind of crazy to say, and therefore I feel like I should part my knowledge on drama school auditions to you guys who maybe haven't done as many as I have. But before I get into this video, remember that you can like, comment, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff, and you can also follow me on all my social medias, which is HopeWilson45 on Twitter and TikTok, and XOWilsonX on Instagram. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, dance. If you didn't know, I would class myself as more of a singer-actor than I would a dancer, and therefore, going into drama school auditions, I knew literally nothing about what to expect from the dance part of a drama school audition, and therefore I thought I would explain. So, the first thing you're going to need to think about is what to wear. Now, depending on the school will depend on if they ask you to wear something specific. However, in most cases, there'll be either a ballet round and a jazz round, or just a jazz round. Now for your ballet round, again, it's gonna vary, but I would always play safe and bring a black leotard, skin coloured tights and skin coloured ballet shoes, because that kind of covers your basics. But in a lot of schools, they don't really have a bunch of time, so some will just ask you to do it in your jazz uniform, which I'll get onto, or they will have you in your other leotard, your chosen leotard, and not a black leotard. Because for your jazz audition, you're gonna want to wear a standout leotard, so a different colour, a different design, something to make you identifiable to the panel. And then jazz tights, which typically go over the leotard, although some people choose to disagree, and they are black, typically footless tights. Now you can also bring jazz shoes, foot thongs, or barefoot. Obviously you're going to bring your feet, but you understand the premise. And for that, it's really your preference. Some schools will be like really anti certain things, but typically in an audition they won't talk about it and you can wear whatever you want. But that is what you're going to want to wear. Now, unless the audition group is really small, it's typically going to split into multiple groups, and it's normally alphabetical. So I'll use my Erdag audition for example, as that's where I go now. All the people in my group were from like S to Z in the alphabet, and we went through each stage together. Now, I did dance last Saturday, but again, this can really vary depending on where you go. So what will happen is you'll be in your group or groups depending, and if you're starting with ballet, which a lot of them normally do, you'll normally typically do a bit of bar and then a bit of center. So your bar exercises are going to be probably pliés, tendus, maybe some glisses, maybe some adage, and then probably grand battement. That's probably what you're going to be looking at. And then for your center, you're probably looking again at tendus and adage, and then there's probably some other stuff in there which probably encompasses a pirouette and then some sort of kick and then some sort of leap. So you're probably looking at kind of like an allegro, but it's difficult to say which because I really feel like it just depends on the school, but probably a grand allegro, which is all your big jumps and stuff like that. And this typically always happens first. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they see ballet and like bar is definitely like warming up, and if you've not had a ton of time to warm up, then this is probably the way that they do it. But you will normally do all of this all together as like a huge group, and if you're doing it in smaller groups, you're probably doing it in halves or even like quarters. But at the same time, like I think when I auditioned for Erdang, there was like 30 people in my group, so even if you're splitting it smaller, like there's still a lot of people and they're not going to be watching you at all times. The ballet part of the audition is not the most important part, and people may disagree with me with that, but from what I noticed, it was really just to get a gauge of the basis of technique that you have and the kind of level that they're looking at in general. Because not that you want to pigeonhole yourself, but when a drama school is looking for a cohort, they want a variety of people, and so if you're not the danciest dancer, they're probably not going to be comparing you to the danciest dancers in your group, because in the world of casting types and whatnot, you wouldn't be against each other because you're not at the same level, at least from a dance perspective, if that makes sense. The ballet section is very much a basic overview of what they're looking for instead of specifics. The real important stuff comes from the jazz portion. Now, I know that Erdang have a lyrical and a jazz portion, and the lyrical is the scariest thing you'll ever do, so don't worry if it goes terribly, because everyone thought it did. And then people like me got in anyway, so who knows. But most, from what I remember, I don't remember doing lyrical anywhere else other than Erdang. But at the same time, I didn't audition for dancier schools like Bird and Performers and Wilkes, so I can't really like say that other dancier quote unquote schools would do. I'm gonna skip lyrical just because it's really Erdang specific, and you literally just learn it in 5 seconds and then do it in 5 seconds, and you also don't do it in smaller groups, so it's not really relevant. But I'm going to talk about the jazz section because this typically happened, I think, at every single audition that I did. So you will pretty much always do a routine. I have done many a routine. It was typically to a musical theatre song. I remember I did Catch Me If You Can twice, and I actually don't remember any other ones that I did other than Catch Me If You Can twice. But again, Erdang breaks the mold. Erdang was always a pop song, and I think it still is a pop song or like a jazzy song. Now, again, depending on the school will depend on the style, but there's typically 2 boxes that I see trying to get filled. So, in general, the style will typically be jazz performance. There will be elements of technique in there, but the priority is performance and style. And then there's Erdang. And I feel like I have to mention this because I know it, because I go there. But Erdang tries to do like 16 counts of like 4 different styles, because it's like commercial jazz, jazz tech, jazz performance, and then improv. Now, don't be scared by the improv. It is scary, I know, because people are gonna be pulling out tricks left, right, and center. And if you've got the tricks, that's great. If you don't got the tricks like me, you'll be fine with your performance. Honestly, I've spoken to many people, and some people literally did a sidestep, shimmy, grapevine, and then a nice little turn at the end and got in. The most important part about the jazz audition is showing your personality and your performance. Now, this kind of goes for like every part of the drama school audition, because that's what they want to see. But when I tell you performance is the most important part, it's the most important part. Drama schools do not care if you can kick yourself in the face. They've seen it far too many times, and they've seen far too many people knocked out. They don't care. What they do care about is showing that you have potential. The potential for technique, flexibility, teachability, all of these things. That's what they're looking for. The thing is, it's quite hard to teach someone performance. And that is kind of what makes the difference as to why performance is the most important. Because if someone brings a natural energy to the way that they perform, that's automatically, in like a casting head, attractive to a drama school, because they know that that person has potential to be good, but has this quality about them that draws their eye to them. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. You will learn it very, very fast, and it will be very, very overwhelming. It can be very stressful, but what you do is you just make do with what you have. Like I said, performance is the most important part. That's what they care about. They know that you've learned this in like 20 minutes, and it's a lot of information at once, so they don't care if you mess it up. For example, not the year that I got into Erdang, the year before, there was a section, because Erdang love a calypso to the floor into a box jump. They love it. I've seen it like 3 times. And genuinely, my brain just didn't comprehend the calypso. And if you know what a calypso is, it's like a step turn leap down to the floor. And I basically did a turning slop drop. That's what I did. I did in fact do that. Who knows if they were looking at me? Maybe that was the reason I didn't get in. I don't know. But you're gonna mess it up. Like, you've learned a routine in 20 minutes and you're putting your all into it. You're gonna mess it up. And that's okay. That's fine. So if you mess it up, don't think I ruined my chances. Don't think that. Because you may not have. And then you're just gonna get in your own head. Also, with the jazz portion of the audition, typically you'll do it in small groups. And by small, I mean like 4s. Maybe 2s if it's a smaller group, but most likely 4 to 6. I think that was the average. I think I did it in 4s or 6s, depending on the size of the group. You'll normally do it twice in these small groups, and normally they'll switch the line. So if you're at the back the first time, you'll be at the front the next time, and vice versa. That doesn't seem like a lot, and trust me, after you do it the second time, you'll really want to do it again, because normally the first time is better than the second time because you're overthinking it more. You'll want to do it again, so just make sure that you put all of your energy into the times that you do it. And when I say like you're only going to do it twice, that is just in the small groups. Like you'll do it as a big group probably like once or twice before that, but even then, that is not many times at all. Like 4 times, and that panel has to see you do it. It's like I could watch the same show 4 times and never notice the same person twice. There have been shows that I've seen where there's people that I think just showed up halfway through because I just never noticed them before, and it's not because they weren't good, it's not because they weren't talented, it was just because I didn't notice them. So you have to make that panel notice you in some way or another. Now, everyone always asks the question, should I ask a question? And every teacher I've ever met has disagreed with each other. Some say ask one question, some say don't ask any questions, some say ask as many questions as you need. My opinion, and again, everyone has a different opinion, but my opinion is ask a question if you need to ask a question. If you don't need to ask a question, don't ask one. Because there's nothing worse than putting your hand up and having nothing to say, but wanting to say something, because it just gets awkward for everybody and is kind of wasting everyone's time. Now me, I always need to ask a question. I'm a big asker of lots of questions. I, in that scenario, typically try to limit myself to 2 questions max. Mainly just because after that, it gets really annoying. And I know that because I'm the one asking the question and I'm feeling annoying. But like, if you are genuinely stuck, don't think, oh, if I ask a question, they're gonna think I don't know what I'm doing, because they're not gonna think that. Realistically, you're gonna ask the question, they're gonna understand the question, and they're gonna move on. It's not a big deal. But only ask a question if you need to. Don't feel the need to ask a question just because you should. And this is arguably my most important point. And given that this entire video has been entirely sporadic and off the cuff, this is probably the one that you should listen to the most. And that is, do not compare yourself to the really good dancers in the room. Particularly when you're a singer-actor, there are gonna be some insane dancers dancing next to you. I have been there, stood next to someone who can literally do this with their leg. My leg on a good day, you know? I'm not gonna get it up to here. I don't have the technique of someone who's done dance since they were 2, because I have not, ow, I just scratched my face. Oh, well, that went well. I have not done dance since I was 2, so I am not going to be as good as this person who has, you know? And don't think just because I'm not as good a dancer as them, you're not gonna get in, because that's just simply not true. Drama schools look for individuals, and they look for personalities, and they also look for a wide range of people. I did say this slightly earlier in the thing, but I'm just reiterating it in a more concise way because I think it's an important point to make. Drama schools want versatility in their year. They don't want the carbon copy of the same human being, because who wants that? I am putting on Grease, and I've casted every single female presenting performer in that with brown eyes, brown hair, and 5'6", and every guy is 5'10", dark hair, brown eyes. Who's gonna want to watch that? Because everybody looks the same, and it's the same with drama schools. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people like looking the same, because realistically at the end of the day, a lot of people are gonna look the same, but there needs to be something different to make it interesting. And drama schools think the same. They want you to be interesting. That whole room is rooting for you. They want you to do well. And so they're not gonna wanna just get the people who can get their leg all the way up to there and have the perfect technique, because it gets boring. They're gonna want some of those people because those people are very talented and can do that, and that is insane and amazing. And let me tell you, there are some phenomenal dancers in my year and I'm forever jealous of them. But they're a strength that you may have that they may not, and vice versa. Like, you can compare someone belting like a top E. I don't know why I picked an E, but I picked an E anyway. You can belt a top E and they can kick their leg up to there. It's an even playing field. Like, you just don't see it in that way, because dance, I think, it's way more evident who an amazing amazing dancer is and a dancer who's never danced before is in comparison to a singer who's sang for years and a singer who's not. And there are differences, and from a drama school panel perspective, they can spot those differences, but from you as a person, you may not. Does that make sense? Hopefully this makes sense, because genuinely this whole video I feel like has been a bit waffly, but I feel like it's really important because I have felt like this. When I tell you, when I auditioned for Audition and eventually got in, I was one of the, out of the people that I knew going to the audition, I was one of the worst dancers. And I can say that as like a holding to my chest. Like, I was one of the worst dancers out of the people that I knew, and even the people that I was watching, like, literally was not one of the strongest dancers. But I got in and they didn't, right? And that's not me being like they should have got in or I shouldn't have got in or whatever. It was just that I had something that that panel liked, and that's why they wanted me. My dance ability came into it. It was important. There was something else about me. I had some other quality that they wanted. And you have to know that if you are a good dancer, there's probably an amazing quality in your dance that they're gonna want it at their school. And if you're not as an amazing dancer, it can be another quality of yours that can make them want you. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses, so don't just write yourself off based off of your weaknesses. Does that make sense? I feel like I've said does that make sense 1,000 times, but it's because I'm listening to myself and I'm not entirely sure it makes total sense. But I'm just gonna summarize everything that I said just so we can all be clear. So, bring the right uniform. Ballet uniform, jazz uniform. Bring a nice looking jazz leotard. I'm just saying, they're gonna want to spot you. Also, if you have the same panel, maybe try and wear the same colour leotard as your clothes, because then you're more identifiable. You don't have to do that, I didn't do that, but you may want to. I don't know. Number 2, you're probably going to be in small groups, so make the small group count. You'll probably be doing ballet and jazz. Jazz is the more important one, and bring performance, and you're not going to do that many times, so in those small groups, like I said, make it count. Number 3, you don't need to ask a question if you don't need to ask a question. Only ask one if you need to, don't feel obliged. Number 4, and yes, I am doing it this way because I can't do it the other way, and this is actually really hurting my thing, so I'm gonna have to change it to doing this. Number 4, drama schools are looking for a variety of things, so don't just think because you're not as good a dancer as the person that you're next to that you're not going to get in. It doesn't work like that. And number 5, and what I haven't actually mentioned yet, is enjoy yourself. Whether you love dance or you hate dance, dance is kind of a big part of a musical theatre course. So try and enjoy it as much as you can, because even if it goes horribly wrong, you've basically just done a dance class and you've added to your training and you've started your journey, and that is what is really important. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it made sense, because I'm really not sure if it did. I guess I'll find out when I edit this video. If you have any questions, please let me know, because trust me, I probably know the answer. I've done that bloody many drama school auditions. Remember that you can follow me on all my social medias. You can find me at XWasItX on Instagram and HopeWilson45 on Twitter and TikTok. And I don't think I have any more to say. So keep enjoying musicals as much as me, and I'll see you in the next one.